Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the fourth and final webinar on our Powering a Modern Workplace with Sparkrock 365 series. And today we will be discussing what migration really looks like. I'm Jenny Lawrence. I'm a customer success representative here at Sparkrock, and I will be your moderator for today's event. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome our main speakers for today's webinar, Monica Depta and Angela Maron. With over 17 years of project management and IT management experience, Monica is our Director of Customer Experience in Project Management. Recently, Monica led development, business analysis, and project management teams to deliver CRM and case management solutions to Ontario government ministries. And Angela is our Senior Manager of Customer Care. She has been working here at Sparkrock since 2015 and brings a wealth of knowledge from previously leading application development and business process improvements projects. And now, of course, Angela is leading a customer care team here at Sparkrock, and she is my manager. Needless to say, you're in good hands. So with that, Angela, please do start our presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jenya, and welcome everyone. Very excited to be part of the Powering a Modern Workplace with Sparkrock 365, the Journey webinar series. I'll be speaking to why you would be considering a migration, what being part of this true cloud platform can really mean for your organization. And then I'll be turning it over to Monica to speak about what does a migration look like, what the processes look like, what would you go through, the stages, phases, what to expect, and what to prepare for. Sparkrock 365 really represents a sea of change for our customers, combining the benefits of a native cloud solution with a solution purpose-built for social impact organization, and it is native to the cloud. So let's first look at the series, just to recap the series that we have here for our webinar. The goal of the series was really to help our existing customers really understand the implications of getting to Sparkrock 365. Provide insight into the entire life cycle, why, what, and how you would go about doing it. So today's sessions, we're focusing on the process, but we started the series with why a Microsoft Cloud Foundation matters. James walked us through the reasons of why a Cloud Foundation, how they would be beneficial, and included some of the demonstrations of that functionality. Then James and Steph in early July walked through the finance, what the finance team would be experiencing with changes to finance, eliminating data bottlenecks, and visually gaining control and visibility and to make data-driven decisions. And then most recently, James and Jen looked at the workforce and payroll, learning some of the enhancements there. Right, so let's get starting a look at why you would be considering a migration. We're really focused on delivering to you new and better ways of doing the same great things. A lot of the processes and functions in Sparkrock 365 haven't been completely changed from what you may be used to. We're just delivering them through a more streamlined user experience, and particularly how, when, and where you can use it. The UI, for example, is a huge improvement, much easier to use and navigate. Then, of course, there's the remote access. Which now is likely something that's more of a need versus a nice to have that might have been the case in the past. And it really allows users to access the solution from anywhere. By default, our restrictions would be set North America wide, and we would work with your IT team to lock that down further or open it up as needed. And it is accessed through mobile or tablet. We also have more flexible licensing based on the users that are actually accessing the system. So we've introduced three user types, which better aligns to how the users are actually using the solution. And then, of course, it's a cloud solution. So if we think about a true cloud platform, there's many advantages simply based on the platform itself. With the Microsoft platform, integration with other Microsoft ecosystem applications, the shift in IT responsibilities, and the cost advantage of a SaaS software. There's huge advantage with a trusted cloud solution. Security, helping to keep our customer data secure. Always being on the latest in terms of security patches. With being on the Azure platform, Microsoft has thousands of security experts that are monitoring any kinds of breaches across the Azure platform and applying updates as they find them. Privacy, it gives customers ownership and control of their data. Compliance, it conforms to the global and regional standards. We have customers across North America, and we make sure that all deployments are on own soil, and making sure that your data is not in transit across borders. Resiliency, keeping your applications up to date and running your data available. So we have monitoring tools, both Sparkrock and Microsoft, in place to make sure that everything keeps up and running. And then, of course, ERP upgrades. It's inevitable. With a cloud solution, it gives companies more flexibility in how you account for them. Continuous updates. With Sparkrock 365, there's a fundamental shift from the upgrades that you may be used to in working with our earlier solutions, where every few years you may have done an update. With the continuous product updates in Sparkrock 365, it's much less invasive. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the other benefits, particularly in leveraging the Microsoft platform. With Sparkrock 365, we're leveraging the Dynamics 365 Business Central, and that's really a truly modern platform. Microsoft has multiple ERP applications whose migration path to the cloud is this platform. You may have seen in some of our previous webinars where we demonstrated some of the connectors into Office 365. And that's deep across multiple areas of Office 365. Being on Power Apps, the common data service that you see here, it allows this platform to have many opportunities to integrate into other solutions within the Microsoft ecosystem. LinkedIn, for example, is offering new solutions and tools that this solution is well positioned to integrate with. And those are some of the things that we're exploring. Microsoft has also a wealth of solutions that are part of low code, no code extensibility movement in terms of app development. So Power Apps that you see here is the solution where you can create forms for inputting data, for example, or mini apps. Then there's Power Automate, which is really a workflow engine that can monitor events like status updates, getting updated in a grant, for example, and triggering other actions. And Power BI, which is a data visualization tool that Microsoft acquired some time ago. And of course, being on the Azure platform. So these items here, like Power Automate, Power Apps, Power BI, those are all things that can be leveraged as part of the overall Microsoft ecosystem. And then, of course, the common data service that comes with the platform allows us to connect pieces of information inside our solution, Sparkrock 365, with others on the Microsoft platform through the different connectors and gateways. It opens up a lot of options and additional scenarios even beyond just Sparkrock 365. So looking at Sparkrock 365, this is the latest tiles. It's similar capabilities from what you know from if you're on Sparkrock 2016, for example. It's the same major groupings, but we've made some changes to the terminology. We're still offering the benefits of a fully integrated ERP system with all of the areas that you're used to: finance and procurement, HR management, scheduling and time entry, and payroll administration, all integrated in a single application. Very simply, in many cases, customers are getting net new or more capability than they had in the past, plus the benefits of all the enhancements that we've made in all those areas. And the team worked in pulling all the feedback that you may have submitted through our ideas portal in the past. We went through that as part of this process and layering in those ideas and improvements as much as we could. And then a little bit more at the mobile and remote access changes from a client perspective. It really is a matter of being able to work anywhere, anytime, on any device. So what that means for you is that the application is available in the desktop client, which is likely how you're accessing it today, but it is a truly web-based or browser-based. So there's nothing a user or IT would need to install for you. As well, there's apps available for download to connect into you for your tablet or your mobile. And that's available on all the major platforms with full functionality available within the apps. So you could do journal entries, for example, working on your desktop, and at the same time, You may also, as a single user, use multiple platforms. So if you're working on your desktop, also do an approval on your mobile, for example. Full functionality is available within those apps. So doing a journal entry or even calculating payroll, you could do on your mobile if you wanted. And then looking at the user types, we've modified the user types that are available with 365. So you're used to a full user, which typically would have been your back office user in the past. You can see some of the examples of the persons or the types of roles that would be using this type of license. And of course, you can then also restrict access based on the permissions. With 365, full users are now named users as well. So you would need a full user license for each person that would require that type of access. The new user type that we've introduced is a manager user. And that would be anybody doing approvals, for example, or from an HR perspective, they're a manager that would need access to the manager self-service, or someone entering requisitions or payments requests or doing any of the procurement activities. So typically a senior departmental or budget type of manager. And then you're really accessing the solution through the same desktop or mobile options that a full user would, but you would only have, you may only have view access anywhere in the application. Again, then through restricted through the permissions. And then the third type of user is your team user. So that's for any of the other employees that would typically only need access to either the employee self-service or perhaps to enter expense claims, view schedules, or make time entries. So with that, I'll be turning it over to Monica to walk us through what a migration would look like.
Thank you very much, Angela. Thanks for having me by your side today. So as a director of PMO here at Sparkrock, naturally, I'll walk you through what a migration actually looks like. We will be reviewing our team here at Sparkrock and all the people who will rally around your migration project, your project team, and who should partake in the project on your side, project phases, of course, the highly anticipated, I'm sure, timeline question, how long does a migration actually take? We'll look at each project phase and what work is accomplished in each, so you can have a good idea of the flow of a migration and what it entails. We'll touch on what a migration go live looks like for a moment, and I'll cover some of the services that we offer to add on to your migration, what I like to call we got you covered section. And then we'll talk about common pain points that you should be aware of as you consider your migration project. So let's start with our professional services organization. This professional services organization is headed up by Dean Carrot as a VP of Professional Services. Dean acts as the executive sponsor for our brand new implementations and migration projects. And his focus is removing roadblocks in projects and ensuring our customers' success in implementations. So now Dean's not alone in this. He's got an army of people in professional services. So first of all, on the left side here, you see the project management office. We're comprised of several project managers, all PMP certified, all experienced with numerous ERP implementations. We have our consulting teams led by Rhett Williams and Kim Payne. On the finance side, our consultants are CPAs. Our consulting teams work with specific industries that Sparkrock caters to, and that allows our customers to really gain the value of their very specific knowledge of best practices in industries just like yours. So the transferability of information adds incredible value to our customers as they re-engineer the business processes to optimize the efficiencies of an integrated ERP system. In a migration, you have an opportunity to further enhance and tweak your business processes as you migrate to a more modern platform. On the right-hand side here, we've got our customer care powerhouse. These are the long-term folks here who take care of you post-go live, and you're probably very familiar with them now. Angela's right here. As you migrate, you're in the care of our delivery teams, and then back to Larry leading support in IT, and Angela and her team as your one-stop shop for anything you need as a customer, really. So we also have a strong Power Platform team. Angela spoke to this a little bit before. So this team allows our customers to take advantage of the Microsoft ecosystem by extending the ERP solution to add functionality and integrations ability. This team also specializes in reporting, and as we adopt Power BI more and more, we start adding dashboards and more data to keep you well on top of the business functions you're overseeing. Other teams include our development team, who will handle your customizations during the migration project. Our customer ops team manages the deployment of Sparkrock 365 updates. And finally, our IT team as well. Well, that's self-explainable. We all have an IT team who saves the day every day, right? So we'll talk about the project teams for your migration project. So each Sparkrock 365 migration project governance is comprised of 2 project managers, one on the customer side, one on the Sparkrock side, along with a project sponsor on each side. I'm usually the project sponsor for the Sparkrock team, and we sometimes have an executive project sponsor on the client side as well. On the Sparkrock side, Dean is always in the loop and active on our steering committees for our migration projects. On brand new implementations, we like to hold a monthly cadence for the steering committees. On migration projects, the steering committees occur at major gates of the project, which we will discuss shortly, so you'll get an idea of what that looks like. So as stated earlier, each migration has the oversight from a sponsor and an exec sponsor there on top. On the ground level, the project team, we have a project manager, a lead consultant for each finance and HR. We have a secondary consultant on each finance and HR who will do the legwork of moving your data, remapping configuration, and all that work. We have our solutions architect who will redesign your 2016 customizations. Our development team will be tasked with moving these customizations to Sparkrock 365. Our QA consultants provide you a test script bank for Sparkrock 365 and will lead your UAT or testing phase. And our technical consultant will be looking after standing up your Sparkrock 365 cloud and applying our migration tools, which we call the upgrade toolkits, to execute a flawless migration of data from 2016 to the new version. On some migration projects, if you have opted in for additional services, you would have your project manager fulfilling the role of a change manager, helping you build out the impact analysis, communication, and training plan for your migration. If you opted in for Sparkrock to build out your reports, which are usually customer scope in a migration, you would have a reporting specialist help out with this work as well. So your project team for the migration needs to be comprised of subject matter experts, or SMEs, for the main functional areas of the ERP. So you will typically engage your finance, your purchasing, your budget SMEs. On the HR side, you will engage your HR, payroll, and scheduler SMEs as part of the core team. You do want to loop in your technical lead, of course, as we need to work with your IT on Active Directory integration up front. You want to assign report owners as well. So your team will be tasked with rewriting your reports unless you have engaged Sparkrock for the add-on services to do that on your behalf. So it's advisable to think about doing a reporting inventory ahead of your project or early on in your project, so you get a good idea of how much scope there is. Of course, we will need someone to lead the effort on your side, so a project manager role is required just for any other project. And depending on the size of your organization, you may assign your PM to lead the change activities or source Sparkrock to help with the scope through our add-on services. A project sponsor to help make decisions to remove roadblocks. For me, that's a must. And finally, you will likely want to involve some of your end users in UAT testing. So we'll talk about the project phases next. All right, so the usual brand new implementation spans over 6 to 9 months. A migration project can be tackled in a 4 to 6 month window. A brand new implementation consists of 5 project phases, and then for a migration, we try to simplify the project to 3 main phases. So the planning phase spanning the first month, the execution spanning over month 2 or 3 usually, and deployment taking the last 3 months of the project, if we map it to the 6 month window. So let's look at the phases over in a little bit more detail over a project timeline, and then we'll get into each actual phase and talk about it a little bit more. So we have planning happening over here in the first 2 weeks of the project. After this, we have our consultants meet with your teams for process alignment. This is where we review the areas of the product that have changed, functionality that needs process realignment. We also discuss customizations that can be deprecated perhaps versus ones that need to be moved forward into your cloud deployment of Sparkrock 365. During the planning phase, the customer engagement is anywhere from 2 to 5 full days for all those SMEs that we discussed as part of your project team as we process align. And of course, there is some work there for your PM as they plan with our PM as well. So next we tackle a phase during which your involvement is very minimal. This is the phase for Sparkrock to do the heavy lifting. So the execution phase involves the customizations development for Sparkrock 365. We move your customizations forward into the new world of Sparkrock 365. We migrate your data from 2016 to Sparkrock 365. We migrate configuration as well. So at this time, we also conduct the payroll controls migration. And then finally, we do our internal testing to ensure your environment is set up and ready for you to test. So typically then in month 4 and 5, we start off by training your teams. Effort would be about 2 to 3 days for finance and 3 to 4 days for HRP. And then after the training, your teams would be able to test the new migrated system. Standard UAT phase should be about 4 weeks at 50% commitment from your resources. And it's typically during this phase that you'd be building out your reports as well and conducting any change management planning. So finally, in the last month, month 6, you would be training your end users and getting ready to execute the cutover plan. So let's recap the phases a little bit. So in the planning phase, Sparkrock will review all your customizations to determine which are no longer required, and if still required, what are the recommendations. So we meet with you for that process alignment, and we have those discussions. You get a good preview of the system and understand what has changed and where you need to, where perhaps business processes need to shift and customizations need to either go away or move forward. Sparkrock then will map project timelines into a migration project plan for review by your team and sign off by the client PM and project sponsor. The plan includes team assignments, planning, kickoff, when the environment setup's happening, the development and configuration, when is the key user training that your team will be getting, the 4-week UAT period, the testing period, and deployment and cutover. And we build in a month of post-go live optimization and support into the migration projects. So as mentioned before, the customizations review and process alignment client effort is about 2 to 5 days. That's full time that we spend with you to review all that. The output of the process alignment is a customizations recommendations report on both finance side, on HR and HR side. The planning phase deliverables include a migration project plan, including a PMP plan and a communications plan. Let's look at the execution phase. So during the execution phase, which includes development and testing, Sparkrock resources will install the upgraded Sparkrock 365 and your My Sparkrock environment. Will conduct a deep review and comprehensive testing of the migration of data. We'll execute a technical review to call to ensure the client infrastructure is ready for access. We'll install appropriate licenses. We'll be conducting the development of the customizations and test all your migrated customizations in preparation for delivery. During the key user training, the core client team will be trained on all functionality, including, if applicable, any newly implemented functionality, of course. Areas of training will be the core finance and HR functions, review of workflows and approvals. We'll do payroll parallel processing, and My Sparkrock review configuration changes and new functionality. During the deployment phase, the client team working with Sparkrock QA and consultants will finalize use cases and test scripts for the migration review. And during this final phase of the project, you'll be training your end users, unless you have arranged for Sparkrock to help you to do that or to do that on your behalf. And of course, a cutover plan will be established sometime during the UAT phase. Post-go live, ongoing support available through the client's Sparkrock support plan. So deliverables here, use cases and test scripts, go live readiness assessment, your live environment, and project closure report. So let's recap. So the migration timelines fall within 4 to 6 months. The actual timeline is dependent on the focus and commitment and pace that your team is able to support. We do work with you to establish a plan that is unique to your situation, of course. So in today's webinar, we want to just give you a baseline. We'll look at the go live, just a few words on the go live, which I'm sure you're curious about. So a migration go live is a finance and HRP go live at the same time. You're basically building out the new system to a point at which you can switch from your current to new. You would be freezing your transactions in your 2016 system at a certain point, and there would be an outage to your current system while you move into the new. Your Sparkrock team would then apply our migration toolkits and move your data into the final production company in Sparkrock 365 and apply customizations you have previously tested and validated to the future production environment. All of this, of course, gets built out in a detailed cutover plan during the project, typically around the time when you're testing. So you're hands-on with the system, you're very familiar, and now we're talking, okay, what does the go live, what does the cutover plan look like? So that cutover plan will give your team the comfort and the information they need of what a detailed go live looks like. So during your project, we do use our collaboration project website as a central project repository. Our customer success center is updated weekly at this point, I think. Just the information keeps growing there all the time with regards to training and self-serve material for Sparkrock 365. So you will find this as a useful tool as well during your migration. And you might have caught at the beginning in my introduction that, thank you, Janya, that I'm not your typical PMO director. In fact, at Sparkrock, we put a huge emphasis on our customer experience. So hence the title of Customer Experience PMO. My team and I are measured by your degree of satisfaction with your experience with us during your project. And as such, we do take a monthly pulse of our implementations and migrations. During key gates in your project, we will be checking in with you via surveys to gauge your experience with us. It's very important. All right, let's talk pain points. So here are some areas that we found are worth pointing out as you gear up for your migration project. So underestimating internal time required. So consider effort outlined for your team when planning, right? So during the planning phase, the PMs get together and we're able to really articulate at which phase, how much of your team is needed, and how does that align to your day-to-day and you know, the time of the year for those particular activities. So for example, UAT is 4 weeks at 50% effort of your SMEs, assuming that you have a SME on each of those areas, right? That we earlier talked about as part of the core project team. So we will guide you with adequate information during the planning phase, but that is something to consider for sure. Sponsor disengagement. So an engaged sponsor is critical for any project, really. It's not just migration specific. To keep that momentum, to you know, for internal communication, for accountability of the team. A change in functionality, look and feel, and the work effort to test a new system is not always met with the biggest enthusiasm. So sponsor support is crucial. So back to the first point a little bit around, you know, vacations for your team members and accounting that in the timeline. That's just another really simple pain point that, believe it or not, we hit here and there on projects. So assuming you'll remember the details or your team can self-coordinate, having a PM is crucial. And if it's not a PM, someone that is actually has the accountability to lead the project, the migration is really important. And the biggest one of them all, I think, is the people side of change, often underestimated. Managing people as they adjust to the new normal by assessing how they might be impacted and how they'll respond, and communicating timely and allowing for adequate training will really allow to ease your end users into the new normal and take advantage of all the gains that the new platform has to offer. So if any of those pain points raised any anxiety with you, please know that we got you covered. We can help with numerous services. The project management office is equipped to support you with the people side of change, We offer change management as add-on services for your migrations. So we would conduct an impact assessment of the change, a stakeholder matrix, communication plan, and a training plan for your end users. Of course, with regards to training materials, you can leverage our Customer Success Center. Contains training, knowledge articles, and on-demand videos that you can leverage with your teams. And if you do feel that training is too much heavy lifting, or you're short of resources to focus on that, you can engage us as well to help out with your end user training for your migration project. Every single customer I work with emphasizes to me how important data and reporting are to them. Having a powerful ERP system means endless possibilities in terms of dashboarding, and just data in general. It means insights and continuous improvement. So we can help with building out your reports, your dashboards in multiple tools, whether it's Jet Reports or Power BI. One thing I do want to point out about Sparkrock 365 is that it's not a static product. With cloud updates and a fulsome roadmap, we continue to keep evolving this product based on your feedback from our customer community. So in project, we do take notes of your feedback, and we, on your behalf, put it into our IDS portal to make sure that our product management has a good view of what's coming from our customers in terms of suggestions. And then, of course, on your own, you're also empowered to do that and continue to help to grow this product in a way that really focuses on the customers that we serve. So it's a product you own and you manage, in a sense that you have an ability to contribute to its evolution. All right, well, I'm personally looking forward to working with you as you migrate into the cloud and into Sparkrock 365. In the meantime, I'll pass this back to Angela for a wrap up.
Thank you, Monica. That was excellent. So just to wrap things up, there's a quote from Abraham Maslow. This is the same Maslow of hierarchy needs that you may remember if you took Psych 101. In any given moment, we have two options: to step forward into growth or step back into safety. So hopefully with today's webinar and all of those in the series, we're giving you some motivation to step forward into growth in terms of having a more secure and efficient application platform truly managed in the cloud for your organization. So in terms of where to go from here, we encourage you to continue to explore Sparkrock 365 through webinars like this. This is the last in this particular series, but we do have webinars, all of the webinars in this series and others, as well as all the material available on our Customer Success Center. So you do have recordings there as well of each of the webinars that we do on 365. And we encourage you to get engaged with our customer care and our account executives to discuss the next steps in your specific journey. Okay, so I'll be turning it over to Jenya.
Thank you very much, Angela and Monica, for taking time to share this fantastic presentation with us today. It was very insightful, and I hope our attendees found it interesting and took away some useful bits. Additionally, if anything comes to mind after we conclude the webinar, you can send your questions through to the email you see on the screen, and it is connect@sparkrock.com. This brings us to the end of Sparkrock 365 migration series. Like Angela mentioned, thank you so much for attending, for joining us. I hope this proves helpful to your technology journey ahead. And just as a reminder, we will be sending a recording of the webinar within a couple of business days. And we can conclude for today. Again, thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you have a fantastic day ahead and a weekend. Stay safe and take care. Thank you very much.